Hi, I'm Anna with the Monthly Momentum, and today we're going to be doing a full flip through of the Yearly Reflection and Goal Setting Workbook. Hi, everybody. I am finally doing the flip through for the Yearly Reflection Goal Setting Workbook. It is way past time, but come on this journey with me. So we start off with the cover. Everything was designed by me as well, so I'm super proud of that. And there's copper foil detailing on the cover, front and back. So that's beautiful. The permanent ones won't have this space here. And let's go on a journey inside the book. So copper foiling again on the ends pages. Trying to catch all that sun on there. It's gorgeous. Each one of these little emblems represents something that's inside of the chapters or a life category. So let's begin. This book belongs to, please return via the way that you want them to contact you. Yearly Reflection Goal Setting Workbook. I can't tell you how cool it is to see your name in a book. Like, that just gives me butterflies. If you're an aspiring writer, you know what I mean. To you, the fabulous reader, here's to your endless ambition, your refusal to settle for anything less than extraordinary, and your relentless pursuit of the life you deserve. That's what this book is about, is pursuing an intentional life filled with the things that you actually want to be experiencing. All the artwork in here is meant to take you on a journey of lifting off the ground, setting your sights on the places you want to be, and continuing to pursue that direction always. So the hot air balloon kind of became a really awesome metaphor for this entire book. And it also became the logo for the business. I don't know if you can see that. Look how beautiful the little logo is there. Okay, so we start out with the introduction. Introduction kind of takes you through what to expect in the book. It's your little pep talk, why we want to do a yearly reflection and goal setting at each year. And that could be, you could do this as a 6-month refresh. You could start this on your birthday. You could start this in December, which is what I plan on doing, going through this in December, setting up my year to come so I could stay really, really focused. About the experts, I have a suggested reading page on my blog, Plan by Blog, and this QR code will take you there. It just goes through, I pulled bits and pieces from different experts that I found their tools to be very helpful. I don't utilize their tools fully to their extent, but you'll recognize them as you go through. And then just a little area to write down the books you might want to read off of there. And it goes through, it takes you to their author pages and everything too. So that was really fun to make. How to overview and how to use the workbook. So these are the chapters. And these are the little emblems that you'll see in the ends pages and throughout those chapters. All right. And then it goes into tips to maximize your experience. I'm not going to read through every page here, but this will tell you kind of how to level up while you're using this book. Obviously, we have our contents page, again, with the beautiful artwork, watercolor style artwork. And then we dive into chapter 1. What you'll find is each chapter has its own color theme. It's got its own artwork that's associated to that chapter. And it's got quotes that refer to the chapter that we're diving into. You have your little introduction here, reflecting on growth and progress. And then we just dive into the questions. So this is where you start to fill out. I want to point out at this point that the paper quality in this notebook is divine. Super thick pages designed for you to be able to use pen, markers, highlighters, whatever you need in here without bleed through, because we do have front and back pages. So the paper quality, super thick, no bleed through. So I also want to point out that we have different life categories in order to formulate your full, well-rounded plan. And those life categories echoed throughout the entire book are health and wellness, relationships and family, career and professional, personal growth and development, finance and security, leisure and recreation, home and personal environment, community and social impact, and spiritual and personal beliefs. So that kind of rounds out your experiences in life, right? I'm sure there's little nuances that can fall into some of these categories, and you can decide for yourself where those nuances belong. So we also learn how to adopt a growth mindset. We go through highlighting positive moments, which is so important, and celebrating successes. This chapter is all about reflecting, celebrating what you've accomplished, what's your highlight reels. And don't worry, I've already edited everything to make sure they're nice and lined up. What do you want to remember? How do you want to share your successes? For a lot of us, that's really hard to do. But again, I'm going to be going through this workbook with you step by step so that we can walk through each page together when you get your yearly reflection and goal setting workbook. Still at this point, they should be delivered by October, mid-October, so we can start going through this together then and just kind of take it page by page. I want to hear what your guys' wins are, what you're reflecting on, what actually shone through in your process of this. What are the lessons, challenges learned, hard truths? This is a very intentional page. It's going to be a hard one to digest, but again, very purposeful, absolutely necessary for this point in the progress, or this point in the process. I also want to point out that these books are lay flat, so it's really easy to write in either side of the page, either side of the notebook. It's Smith Sewn bound, which just means it can lay flat at any point in time. So we do feedback. This is kind of what you want to go through as you're doing your reflection, so you have kind of the input from all of the pools, right? Plan to reward yourself. Again, so important. Gratitude and appreciation. Continued on. Your MVP's most valuable friends and family. You want to build that list, and any takeaways you want for that chapter. Chapter 1 is the longest chapter by far. Let me show you exactly how thick it is here. So that's chapter 1. Not super intimidating, but it is the longest chapter. Again, I don't think it will take you that long, but some of them are heavy hitters, so you want to take your time with that. And of course, we have a full color page to end out each chapter that continues that color theme. We are in chapter 2. Look at how beautiful. I love how the artwork came out in this yearly reflection goal setting workbook. It is absolutely stunning. Again, self-assessment. So you're taking the reins on everything that you're building, right? You're figuring out where you stand. So this is kind of where we want to make sure that our life is balanced, our well-being is balanced. We take a quiz. This is going to be a very quick quiz. Shouldn't take you very long to go through it all. You have your scoring, ranges and meanings, a little bit of notes there. What are your strengths and weaknesses? So that was developed by Albert Humphrey in the 60s. It stands for strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats. So this is kind of where you want to go through, and we talk about different skills that you have, so you can kind of build out what you think you're most strong at, what you think you're most weak at, like areas for improvement, where you might have opportunities. And there's some differences between weaknesses and opportunities, although most weaknesses can be considered an opportunity. but not all opportunities are weaknesses, if that makes any sense. And again, threats, what can you plan for? What do you know that's coming down the pipeline that's going to be a challenge? So we talk about those things. Values and priorities. This is where we really dive in to, are you doing this for you? What are your core values? Meaningful life things. And again, we take notes and we close out the chapter. That one's a pretty quick chapter, but very, very important. Then we get to the fun stuff. At least this is some of my most favorite things, is building the vision for the future. I'm very much a vision type of person. I have big goals. I see this big life. I'm called to do big things. And I want to make all of those things come to fruition. So this chapter to me is one of my favorites. It was one of my favorites to create and write. And it's one of my favorites to actually go through and do. Your girl just needed a little bit of coffee. So this quote is from Dr. Wayne Dyer, who is one of my absolute favorite authors. It says, if you change the way you look at things, the things you look at change, if that ain't the truth. So we want to create a compelling vision. Again, there's a little QR code. This is just like a nice little, meditative music for you to go through while you're creating this chapter. And it goes long enough so you could actually do the whole chapter while listening to that with no commercials. So, and I gave credit to the creator here too. So visualization exercises, long-term goals and aspirations. We have defining your big picture goals. Again, you'll find the different life categories here because we want to visualize a well-rounded life, right? And then any notes or takeaways that you may have. And then we go to mapping out your 1 to 5 year plan. You want to do 1 to 5 years, you can absolutely put your longer term goals in here, but 1 to 5 to keep it more relevant to where you're at. And the reason we're doing it for 5 years is because some of your 1 year goals will be specifically important to obtaining your 5 year goals. So having that 5 year vision and then building your plan for the first year would give you a path to what's most important that you accomplish year 1 in your 5 year plan. This is always going to be evolving. You're not like signing away your firstborn. You're just building your dream as it stands today. It's always going to evolve. So keep that in mind. But this is the way we get to figure out what our first steps are, what's most important to us. Again, you go through that for each life category. This chapter, this section might take you a little bit longer, but it's so worth it. And you'll start to see where you're really, really into it and where you might need to put more attention. And this is kind of where you start to notice, like, why are these things so important to you? Why is this category so important? What do you need to amplify to be more well-rounded? And then we create your personal mission statement. This is kind of the questions to be able to help you with that, determine your why, although you'll start to figure that out in the previous pages. And then you get to kind of build it here. Again, you can do that on a separate piece of paper, but this will give you a nice little example of how to do it. I suggest building your mission statement and then typing it up on your computer, printing it out, and putting it in front of you every single day. So that when you're going through a hard day, something is just very irritating or frustrating and you're just down, that's the days that you can look at that, read it, and be like, oh yeah, that's I'm doing it for the right reasons. Again, we close out the chapter and we head to SMART goals. So I'll let you read through these by yourself. But again, I love the art and how the art came out in this. And I love the colors I chose to be in each chapter. It kind of sets the mood for the chapter, kind of sets the mood for like dreaming or, getting down to business. You want to brainstorm all of your goals. What are you pulling in here from chapter, 3? Yeah, from chapter 3. What are all of those and which category did they fall under? So you kind of This is not your area to dream small. I have all the instructions here, which these 2 pages will be in front of this in your book. However, dream big. What were all those big things? Like even some of your 5-year goals, but what are they? Get them all out here, and then you color code them. Make your health and wellness, let's say just green. Make it whatever color you want, but green. So then you highlight all the health and wellness ones green. So you kind of have this brain dump of your goals. And then we want to figure out how to prioritize them. Which are the ones that need to come first? This is where we get really organized. So you put all of the goals from that category that you highlighted in that section. You figure out how to prioritize it in order. So this is a want, this is a need. What do I want to come first? What needs to come first? You take your top 3 goals out of those, probably this side, and you order those in order of importance. And then your first goal needs to go here. So top of mind. You break that goal down. You could even take your top 3 if you have space over here, and you break them down into SMART goals. And this kind of gives you a timeline. What can you do this week, this month, in 3 months, 6 months, 9 months, and by the end of the year for that top goal in that life category. So I gave you all those pages. I do have free printable pages to help you. If you need more space in a certain life category, you can go print them out. Either on the website, themonthlymomentum.com, or on planbyblog.com. And those QR codes are in here too. You'll see that. So you don't have to write that down. Anyway, so you go through that process. That'll take you a little bit of time because it's really about it's really specific. Oh, and then also, the details. So your goal, what are your action steps? What are your first 3 steps to focus on? When does it need to be done by? So you take this, put it here. What are your steps? First 3 steps. Good. Put them here. Put those here. What are the tasks for that step? What is the deadline of that task? Here's the task. What do you need to accomplish that task? And what is it going to cost? Money, time, effort. What is the total of those things? So again, we don't need to go through every finite detail, but I just wanted to show you. And then you build your timeline. What needed to be done by January out of all those goals? Okay, what's your milestone that you're tracking? How are you tracking that it's getting done? How are you going to celebrate? February, March, so January, February, March. And then you go through and you're building your year out. And again, we wrap up that chapter. That chapter might take a little bit of time, but it's going to be well worth it. This is the productivity strategies. So again, super beautiful artwork. This is a fun little QR code. I'll just let you discover that on your own. This is kind of where we introduce the time management matrix and how to prioritize our goal, how to keep things in line so things don't get left behind or stuff doesn't slip through the cracks. So the difference between time management matrix from Stephen Covey or the ABCDE method from Brian Tracy. I give you examples of kind of what that looks like in here. Time management quads. I give you examples of that. What needs to be done first, scheduled, delegated, or important. ABCDE method. I'm going to give you examples of that. And then we talk a little bit about Getting Things Done by David Allen. And again, I send you to my suggested reading page so that you can go pay homage to those authors. We talk about how it works. This is kind of the layout that you can go to if you're ever stuck. Overcoming procrastination, how to do that. There's some awesome little QR codes in here that really make it fun and interactive. and then summary to stay motivated, and we end out that chapter. Very quick chapter there, but very powerful. There we introduce some really important different skills, and if you want to read their full books, I highly suggest you do so, because I got a lot of good insight when I read their full books, and I just use their tools in my own unique way. So maybe reading their books will enlighten you to create something that works good for you as well. And I do have those structures laid out in the planners as well. Developing positive habits. I absolutely love the color theme and the artwork for this chapter. This is where we talk about taking things and making them habits. How do you support the life that you're going after? What does that look like? And how do we do it? How do you actually create habits that support your goals? That's so important. I go through every single way to do that. I introduce the monthly momentum planners in here because everything that I talk about in this book is in the monthly momentum planners. Everything I talk about reviewing, reflecting on your goals, how to build your goals, how to stay accountable every single day is in the planners. So I talk a lot about that, how it will help you succeed, how you build a routine, this chapter has building routines. How do you do that? How do you build morning and evening routines? Here's some trackers for you to give a go. How to incorporate exercise and nutrition habits and why they're important. If the measurements, I've said this before, if the measurements trigger you in any way or make you feel bad for where you're at, please just tear this page out of here if you need to, by all means. Mood tracker. This is just in there to be able to measure progress, right? Because that's what this chapter is about. We have our mood tracker. So what do the 1 to 10, what does that mean? 1 being rock bottom, 10 being euphoric. I know we've all had our ups and downs on that scale for sure. And then how to do daily, weekly, and monthly rituals to make things a lot easier for you and how it helps you stay on track to actually accomplishing everything, right? This whole process is about following through to build that intentional life. We end out that chapter, and then we come to chapter 7, enhancing personal well-being. So important. I believe I even say it in here. If there's no you, there's no purpose to any of this. So you have to take care of you. And this is kind of the chapter we do that. So we go through some mental and emotional health, a little quick assessment. I'm clearly not a doctor, but this assessment will kind of give you a powerful insight to where you might fall in these and kind of some suggestions for which range that you fall in. And then a little health pep talk there from yours truly, mindfulness techniques and meditation techniques with some fun QR codes, how to manage your stress. I actually got certified in college for stress management while I was taking my yoga certification. So there's some fun little insights and quick tips. Obviously, we can go deep dive into that, into stress management, which if you're interested in that, let me know in the comments if you need some serious stress management techniques. And I would love to make a video just on that, just on how to do that. So finding balance, work-life balance that works for you, creating boundaries, prioritizing self-care, and then a fun little bingo. Is that not such a beautiful color? I mean, goodness, I love it. Okay, and then we're at chapter 8, reviewing and adjusting your goals. Again, the artwork, I mean, come on. It's just beautiful. So we go through the annual review process. This is what this book is. It's an annual review process, whether you're starting your year on your birthday in July or December, January, June, July, mid-year, beginning of the year, up to you. We talk about monthly and quarterly reviews. Again, These systems that I'm talking about are in your monthly momentum. The personal KPIs aren't, but you can absolutely, well, one, let me know if you want them in your monthly planner, and I'd be happy to put one of these in there in the habit trackers or review section. But also you can print this out on the free printables on the website. So I just kind of take you through what is a KPI. What do we need to, like, there's an example of writing a book is the big goal, right? How do we track the progress of that? And then there's an example of how you can do that for yourself. So you can print this out for all of your biggest goals if you want. That's up to you. Adapting and adjusting your goals, how to do that, how to celebrate milestones. And yes, that is so important. I'm the worst at celebrating milestones. I don't know about you, but we got to get better. We got to get better. It's so important because otherwise, if you're not celebrating, like, you're just nose to the grind, scrape and face, trying to accomplish your goals. And you need to pause and pat yourself on the back. There's your gentle reminder, and mine as well. And then obviously reflection on progress and growth. Close out that chapter. And we're to the conclusion. So this book actually goes by really fast. There's lots of little places for you to write in, but you're going to find that you go through this workbook pretty speedily, especially if you're into it and you're being intentional, maybe setting aside 10 minutes each morning. You're going to get through this pretty quick. And then so we just summarize what we learned. We figure out what the next steps are. I give you some resources here for ongoing support. And then some more inspiring quotes. We go to the appendices, and I kind of switched this up for the permanent ones. So you definitely have your additional resources. I added a QR code here so that you could go to the website and then actually click these links. Invitation to join the community. This was something that happened at the printers, but yours won't have that. And then just paying it forward, lots of QR codes. I think that that's the funnest part. Meet a little bit about me. This is me and my son. Fun facts about these two photos. This was me as obviously a youngin', and it was my birthday. And I believe we were in Rifle, Colorado. I have no idea who this person is back here. And then me and my son were in Bali in this photo when we traveled for 2 months. He's now 11 and probably twice as tall as that now. So a little bit of fun. And again, we end with the absolutely stunning. Now you kind of know what those little emblems mean. I just can't get over it. Thank you for watching. I want to hear about all your progress. I want to know, how are you doing with your goal setting? Have you gotten one of the yearly reflection and goal setting workbooks yet? If so, let me know. I would love for you to join the community on Facebook where we can help jazz each other up. Follow me over on YouTube. I'm going to be making videos over there for kind of each chapter as I go through it and deep diving with you guys on how the system works. But thank you for watching, and I hope you have the best day of your life.